Hey, YouTube, welcome back. We're here. I know it took a little while there for me to adjust, but we're here and I'm hosting. So, guys, try not to freak out. This is happening. It's really, really happening. All right, we're about to hop into this podcast. Hope you're ready. Let's go. Let's get it started. Hello, all. Welcome to another exciting episode of Bros Talking Soccer, brought to you by us, the Knittle Brothers. So our youngest brother, Matt, who's usually with us here, couldn't be here. He's in Houston vacationing this week with his girlfriend. So I'm just here with my big bro, the big bro himself, Dave. How you doing today, Dave?
I am doing fantastic on this fine Friday. Christian, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm hosting my first ever podcast. It's really exciting. Thank you for saying my name. I forgot to say it. So I'm Christian, everybody. I hope everyone just is getting a kick out of this first start here.
You're
All
doing
right,
great.
so...
You're doing great. Keep it rolling.
So today we're just going to be talking about the World Cup group stages and looking into the future matches a little bit in the knockout rounds. We'll be analyzing group by group. So we'll go A through H. And we're going to talk about how we feel the players did, how the teams did, all in the first round, as well as discussing some of the more broad news or moments that we've liked or disliked so far. We're going to be looking at the future matchups. So round of 16 all the way to the final. We're going to be giving you some predictions. And if you're tuning in live, please feel free to reach out and ask any questions. And we'll hopefully be able to address anything that you want to talk about. So, Dave, you ready to get started?
Oh, I am pumped. Let's do it.
Let's go. Hopping right into Group A here. So, Group A, Dave, how do you feel Group A went? So that is Uruguay, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. So what were you expecting this group to look like before it started?
So I was expecting Uruguay first, Egypt second, Russia third, and Saudi Arabia fourth. So for me, it was definitely a disappointment with how Egypt did throughout the tournament. They ended up coming in fourth place. They looked okay defensively and just did not look good whatsoever going forward. So that was my big disappointment. And then Russia. Definitely a huge surprise. I don't think anyone, including Russian fans and media, expected them to do as well as they've done so far.
Yeah, definitely those first two games, they blew Saudi Arabia away and then did the same thing to Egypt, really. They really looked impressive. But as we kind of predicted, they had a fallback against Uruguay. The other two teams were really, I think, just that bad in this tournament. And that was a little bit of a letdown. I was really hoping for Egypt to do well. I had the same exact order in my prediction as you did. I was hoping Salah would lead them to a little bit more glory. He clearly was missing in that first game, and they blew that late go-ahead goal with the Uruguay scoring late. So that's unfortunate. But what do you think about Uruguay right now? They haven't conceded in the World Cup, and they look like they could make a run in this tournament.
Yeah, I really like them. I mean, defensively, they're so organized. Jimenez coming back for them on central defense to pair with Godin is one of the best center back pairings at this tournament. You know, definitely top four, I would say, and arguably higher. And then Suarez, which I think we'll get to maybe later on, or maybe you want to talk about biggest player disappointment so far. But like for me, Suarez has been a disappointment, and he's got 2 goals for them, which is kind of a scary thought. If he can get, his act together and really kind of score clinically the way we know him to be, I mean, this team can go very far.
I think it's a little unfair to say that. I think Suarez has been fine after that first game. I thought in that first game, he was an abomination. Like, he didn't even look like the same player that he's been. So I don't know if he's really been that poor since, but yeah, he's probably not been what we expect him to be as Liverpool fans or watching him through Barcelona.
I would say in the first match, he missed a lot of chances. We would have expected him to convert. But in the other matches, I don't think he found the space or even got the chances to kind of fluff the way he did the first game.
He got the goals.
Well, he got a free kick goal and he got a goal on a corner kick. I mean, so both of them set piece goals. I'm talking about more run of play. You expect
just
him,
like everybody else in the tournament.
Well, very true. That's a good point.
What is it? 44%, I think, of goals have been scored on set pieces. That's absurd.
Yeah, some sort of crazy amount.
See them. Yeah, that's crazy. So what do you think about Saudi Arabia? How do you think they rebounded? I thought they did really well after that first game.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if they could have possibly been worse. They were that bad, but I still did not expect them to rebound as well as they did. I know Matt was on, I think before the World Cup, he was previewing them saying, in highlight videos or on FIFA, they all have like 5-star skills or they seem to be, a lot of flair players. And I think we saw that after the Russia match. They had some skills. Now, they weren't nearly as talented as, the other teams. But, I mean, yeah, props to them for bouncing back after getting humiliated in that first match.
Yeah, I was really impressed with them the way they rebounded because that first game they looked like they didn't even know where they were. They didn't. They looked lost on the field. They looked like they never played together. Russia were picking them apart, and let's keep in mind that's Russia. Russia played well, but that's not a team that typically will dominate the way that they did. And I was pretty impressed with Saudi Arabia from that point forward, not getting blown out by Uruguay, who were clearly the favorites in that group. So good for them. Anything else?
I mean, I don't know how much Saudi Arabia should be credited for that versus Uruguay. Just like as soon as they got up, they just kind of sat back and they didn't really try, which is kind of their style, which I get, but they definitely bounced back against Egypt. So I want to give them props for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else in Group A that you want to talk about?
So just real quick, do we want to highlight players later or are we going to give players in this section? Just want to understand how you want to do this.
I mean, it's more like general. So whenever you want to mention anything, go ahead.
I thought Zuba, the center striker for Russia, has been somewhat of a revelation for me. I knew nothing about him before this tournament. He didn't start the first match, but since then, I mean, he's been fantastic up top. He's a big body, big center forward, but he's got surprisingly good touches and he occupies the center backs really well. So I thought he's been fantastic for them. So I just wanted to call him out as kind of my surprise player from this particular group.
Who would you? So you would say he was your like biggest surprise or like the best player? I don't know if he's best player, but like
yes,
from this group,
exactly.
My most impactful player.
I would say so. Golovin had some impacts in the first two matches, but the fact that he didn't play against Uruguay makes me somewhat hesitant to say he is that good. Whereas Zuba played in all three matches and he made impacts in all three matches.
Yeah, that makes sense. My biggest player, I think, from this group has to be Godin. He is just clearly the best center back in the world to me. I think there's no one really. I know you think Varane is up there. He is probably competitive, but I just think Godin is the best right now. And they just look like a next level defense when he's out there. Same with Atletico Madrid.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else
you
wanted to throw out there? Okay. So let's hop into Group B, a little bit of a more entertaining group. So we had Spain, Portugal, Iran, Morocco. They finished in that order. So I'll say what my predictions were this time. I had Spain, Portugal, Iran, Morocco as my predictions. So it finished in the exact order that I kind of expected it to. That first game, how insane was that? That was ridiculous, Spain versus Portugal.
Yeah, I don't think too many people expected it. I know JS, who we've had on the podcast before, called it before the match, or at least he claims he called it.
JS is full of shit.
But I don't think too many people expected it to be that wide open. Portugal was well known through the Euro campaign as being a pretty stout defense, and Spain, over these last number of years has had a very good defense. And so for that game to be 3-3 and that high scoring and open was definitely a surprise for me.
Yeah, what do you think about Spain's defense? I think they look really awful, to be honest with you. They've conceded so many times, and that's so un-Spanish their last couple tournaments.
Yeah, and on top of that, David De Gea hasn't looked particularly confident, and I don't know if he's made a save yet. I know through two matches he hadn't made a save at the tournament. Do you know if he's made a save yet?
I honestly can't remember him making a save in that game against Morocco either, so he may not have.
Yeah, so which is like a weird thing because they have talented players. I mean, we've talked about Ramos and PK as possibly...
Oh, he made one with his feet. Yeah, in that game. Yeah.
Okay, so I think he's got one save this tournament, which is weird. But we've talked about those defenders are some of the best defenders in the world. I want to say Alaba, but I know that's not right.
Alba,
thank you. And Carval are fantastic outside backs, and PK and Ramos are fantastic. PK might be getting up there in age a little bit, but he's still supremely talented, and you wouldn't expect that with the Spanish team. I don't know what's going on. And Busquets is also he's fantastic, but he's getting up there in age. I don't know if this is just them getting just slightly towards the end. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you can definitely see their age a little bit. Iniesta's still starting for them, and he's 34 right now, maybe turning 35 soon. He is so talented still, though. It is insane. He never loses ball. I've been blown away by Isco. What?
He lost it that one time.
Well, yeah. That went to the goal. Yeah. But that was a confusing play. It looked like Ramos was going to get it. Then they both just stopped and let the guy run straight through. But I think that there's a little bit of miscommunication with the Spain team, something that we haven't really seen before. And I think that they're going to be fine. They're just such talented individuals, and maybe they needed some time together. We have to keep in mind that there's a new manager there who's putting new tactics out there, so we don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. But Yeah. Moving on from Spain, Portugal. Wow, Ronaldo. How about him at this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, as crazy as it is to say this, being that he's one of the two best players in the world, I mean, he's probably been the surprise player in this group just because, like, he is literally carrying them to victories and to results. And so it's just insane to me because you would think these other teams, I mean, they just need to shut him down and they haven't found a way to do that. And it's props to him because at this point in his career, he's evolved into that goal poacher. He finds ways to get into scoring positions and finish those chances. So props to him.
Yeah, I've not really ever been a Ronaldo fan. I don't know if you knew that. It might be a surprise to you, but I've been impressed with him in this World Cup. I think that he's moving a lot more than he usually does on Madrid. Madrid, he kind of like just waits for the ball to get to him. But here, he has to be the man who gets the ball. He has to open himself up to space. And he's been getting on the ball, and he's rarely turned it over. He's been very, very impressive.
Yeah,
Um,
not much else to add to that.
yeah. So how upset are you with your surprise pick,
Yeah, so
Morocco?
for those who don't know, I expected this group to finish Spain, Morocco, Portugal, Iran. And so Morocco has been a disappointment just from the perspective of they just weren't able to finish right until the last match. And so they played pretty well. They played attacking soccer against Iran. They just didn't score in that 20-minute period in the beginning of the match. And then the match sort of devolved and nobody really had a ton of chances till the own goal at the end of it. So I'm definitely disappointed in Morocco, but they still played attacking, exciting soccer and they just didn't get a goal. So I'm slightly disappointed. And then Iran is definitely the surprise from this group outside of just Ronaldo's performance. I mean, Iran was right there with Portugal till the very end. They had that chance at the very end off the outside of the net. And so I knew they were good defensively. I didn't expect them to really be able to score. And we kind of saw that, but they got a goal against Portugal. They got the own goal against Morocco and almost scored a second against Portugal. So they were my surprise from this group.
Yeah, Iran definitely surprised me. We all knew that they were very defensively sound. They rarely gave up a lot of chances. They were arguably, were they the top seed coming out of Asia? They were, correct?
Depending on how you consider top seed. So they were in
Okay.
qualifying, they were, but I think Australia was technically the highest ranked
Yes,
team
I think
by
so. I
FIFA.
think Iran was, during all of qualifying, they were the highest ranked. And then the last rankings that came out, Australia passed them, which is funny. But yeah, we kind of expected them to be competitive, I think. But I know you had them finishing last. I had them finishing third. That missed chance in that game, for it to fall to him in that spot in the box to not hit the target, is a really hard one to take. And they were very impressive. You can't really take away from them, but that miss is really going to haunt that guy. And I hope that he's not getting a lot of flack for that. They played so well together as a team, and I agree with you. They really surprised me attacking wise. They continually put pressure on Spain in their game, and they, against Portugal, I didn't think they looked particularly impressive until the second half. But in the second half, they really came out to prove a point and win that game.
I agree with that. Now, there was a story. I don't think it was Azmoun who missed the chance at the end. It may have been, but there is a story that Azmoun, 23-year-old, he was nicknamed the Iranian Messi, huge, bright future, but he recently came out and announced his retirement because of the abuse he's been suffering on social media, and that has impacted his mother's health. So you hate to see that. I mean, like I always talk about this. It's like these people are humans. Like treat people how you would want to be treated. Like that whole thing. Like I just don't understand it. Like why go so negative? And I get that people are wrapped up and they're passionate about all of this, but like have a little bit of perspective on everything. So people need to stop that with Azmoun, and hopefully he reverses that decision.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I just want to throw out that, yeah, I was really sad for Morocco as well. I thought they really entertained and played beautiful soccer in the entire tournament. And for them to get knocked out after two games, we'll get to Peru later too, but that's a hurtful one. Anything else in Group B?
Nope. Ready to talk Group C.
All right, Group C. So this group finished France in first, Denmark second, Peru in third, and Australia in fourth. So, do you want to give what you thought this group was going to look like before?
Went exactly that way. So that's what I predicted: France, Denmark, Peru, and Australia, and it went that way. No real surprises for me, but Peru definitely were a ton of fun to watch before the World Cup started. As soon as they got Paulo Guerrero back from his suspension, or he didn't have his suspension, it got reversed, whatever that whole story. But as soon as they got him back, there was a ton of buzz and positive momentum for them. And I was almost worried about picking Denmark second. I kind of was starting to feel like Peru might edge it out, but I stuck with my guns, and we ultimately saw that. And Peru suffered from a bit of what Morocco suffered from.
Yeah, it was really sad because Peru played really, really well, and their fans were absolutely insane. I really love because they haven't been there, since 82, was it?
36 years.
Yeah, 36 years. That's incredible. Funnily enough, that's the last time an African team didn't make the round of 16, which we'll get to later as well.
Fun facts.
I had the exact same prediction you did, and it finished the exact same way as we predicted. I guess we're just that good. So what do you think about France? For me, I feel like they haven't been entertaining enough. They haven't lived up to the hype. What do you think?
I personally think they've been fine. So the first match, Australia came out and played so defensive, and France didn't have the right lineup out there. As soon as they got Giroud into the match and they started to play differently with him as a center striker and focal point, Griezmann and Mbappe were freed up a bit, and you saw France get their goal, and the play opened up a bit. They came out in their second match with that same lineup. They got a goal in, I want to say it was the first half. It was definitely somewhat earlier in the match. If it came in the second half, it was early in the second half. And then they basically bunkered down, and they didn't continue to attack. And that was the result that they needed. They came through with 2 wins. And then the last match, there was nothing really for them to play for. And so I personally think if they go with Giroud up top, Mbappe and Griezmann off of him, and then Kanté, Pogba, and Matuidi in the midfield, I think that is their best plan moving forward. And that's what I would expect to see. And so I know a lot of people are down on France. I haven't been that down on their performances. I've seen flashes of them playing well, and then the rest is sort of circumstantial. And so I feel like if they need to turn it on and play that way for a longer period of time, I have more confidence than a lot of other people. So I'm still really high on France.
Okay. I definitely think that they can be more entertaining with the players that they have. And I think a lot of people have that expectation. Yes, it's unfair. They got what they needed to. They didn't lose a game. They are 2-1-0 or 2-0-1, depending on where you are in the world.
2-0-1. We're Americans.
Yeah. Okay. They are getting the job done. It's just, we expected them to kind of see this group out much easier than they did, but that's credit to the teams that played against them, I guess, too. And I think it's a little hard on Australia that they gave up that late own goal against France. This group could have looked completely different if that one didn't happen, but they got their results when they needed it, and that's really all you can say. I haven't been sold on Pogba, but at moments he just looks unplayable. I agree, Giroud made a huge difference when he came in. They looked not like France that first half of the first game. But again, I was really disappointed in Australia in the last game as well. They needed a result to possibly get through. And yeah, it finished France. Did France beat Denmark? No, they tied Denmark in that last game.
It was the only 0-0.
Yeah, and France, had they won that game and Australia had won that game, they still could have gotten through. But credit to Peru for playing well, but I think Australia should have done more to at least try and get through that game. They lost 2-0, and it didn't really look like they were ever pressed to win.
Yeah, but I think that might be a disservice to Peru, because I thought Peru just played fantastic that game. Again, Guerrero, who I think he started the second match, but he didn't start the first match, and I think that was kind of the downfall for them. He may have not have had match fitness or whatnot, but he played fantastic against Australia. He set up a goal, he got the other goal, and I think he was kind of the difference maker in that match against Australia.
Okay, yeah, and that's fair to say. What do you think about Denmark's chances moving forward? Do you think they have any chance to get by Croatia? Well, I guess we'll get to that later, so we don't really need to talk about that now. But
no, I can just answer that real quick.
No. What do you think about Eriksen? How well do you think he played so far?
In a tournament like this, and you're the focal point of your team, it's really tough on a lot of players. We've seen lots of players struggle with it, even Neymar, for Brazil. I mean, it's basically been Coutinho who stepped up for them. We've seen it with Messi, and he stepped up in instances. But it's just so hard to just be that focal point and not necessarily have the support that you have maybe at club level. And so He's done okay. He got I believe the one goal, which was a nice goal. And beyond that, I mean, he's played okay, but he's disappeared for large stretches of the matches. But that's more of the way that Denmark has been playing. They've definitely been more bunker conservative, and I think a lot of his goals previously have come on kind of set pieces and things like that, and so they haven't gotten a ton of those.
Okay. Any surprise players or anyone you think really stepped up and made a difference?
Not from this group.
Giroud.
Yeah, Giroud. But nobody in particular from this group. I did just want to, I missed it in Group B. Isco has been superb for Spain. And so we kind of glossed over him. I think he's been fantastic. So just jumping back a group, I wanted to call him out. But from Group C,
I actually wanted to do that as well. But okay. I was just going to approach it when we got to the knockout stage.
Okay.
I was thinking about it again. Yeah, I can't really think of anyone who really stepped up and was a difference maker in this group. But I guess we'll move on to Group D unless you got something else to add. Okay, Group D, let's go. All right, this group ended a little bit surprising. People, I don't think, expected this, but again, I think the two teams that everyone expected to get through did. It was Croatia in first, Argentina in second, Nigeria third, Iceland in fourth. I had Argentina finishing first, Croatia finishing second, Iceland third, Nigeria fourth. So I got the same two teams that ended up going through, just had them in a different order. Croatia was my dark horse. It was their dark horse.
Dark horse.
Yeah. They were my dark horse team. I had them getting to the semifinals, which I still think that they're going to do this time around. But yeah, I was blown away with how good they were and how bad Argentina were at times in this group.
I'd agree with that. And so my predictions were exactly as the group actually finished up. So I know you said nobody really expected it, but, not to toot my own
horn.
You're
so great.
Yeah, but beep. So I had Croatia first, Argentina second,
toot.
Nigeria.
Beep.
It's from Scrubs. Anybody out there? Dr. Cox. Nigeria third, Iceland fourth. And that's basically how it finished up. I did think Nigeria with that midfield, I mean, Rakitic and Modric are absolutely fantastic in the middle of the park for them. And Mandzukic up top, they just have a ton of talent in this team. And, this went about as I expected. I expected Argentina to be very dysfunctional, which they've been. I don't know if I expected them to be as dysfunctional as they have been, but I expected Messi to be able to find a way to pull them through, which is kind of what ended up happening. But, we'll talk about later. I expect them to go out next round because I just don't have confidence in them. So this group went about as I'd expected.
All right. So we have to talk about the elephant in the room. What the hell is Maradona doing at these games?
Yeah, I mean, he does not look well. We touched on this. Podcast listeners will know we touched on this in the first half of the podcast. Anyone watching on YouTube, go watch our earlier video with Mark Lawson if you're looking for that. I mean, I think he's just not well. And so when you're a superstar athlete, you gotta have a ton of money, you have a ton of power, you have access to certain things. And we saw it with Maradona. He missed the 94 World Cup because of a drug test. And I think that lifestyle, he hasn't necessarily abandoned that. And I mean, in Russia, in the stadiums, cocaine and other drugs are legal to be doing. And I don't know if he's doing it on, it certainly looks like he's on something. I don't want to get accusatory or whatnot, but he does not look well. And so you just wish him well in health.
Yeah, I agree. There was the moment when they scored their first goal where Maradona looked like he was performing an exorcism. I have no idea what was going on, but he's very passionate for Argentina. I'll tell you that much. Argentina fans are pretty insane, but he does not look well. And I hope that he definitely figures that out because he's a legend of the game and we want to look at him that way. But I think he's almost tarnishing that with the way that he behaves outside of the game. So let's talk about Argentina a little bit. Where do you think that it's going wrong?
They don't have the players. It's going wrong at the functional development level in Argentina. And they have a talented attackers and then they have nobody basically from defensive midfield back that are coming up through the system. They're still starting 35, 34-year-old, however old Mascherano is. He's a warrior and he's battling out there, but he's just... I just can't believe they haven't produced a better player than him at this point. Their defenders, I harp on this all the time, I don't think are very good. I know everybody's big on Otamendi. I don't personally rate him that highly. Rojo and Otamendi are just not center backs that I want on my teams. They're very reckless. They just rush into tackles. We saw it multiple times in their match against Nigeria. They weren't made to pay for it. But I mean, for me, they just don't have the talent. And then you see it at the goalkeeper level. Caballero was not very good. He got pulled for Avila, who's never started a match for Argentina before. He just made his debut at 32 years old. And somebody brought this up on one of the podcasts that I was listening to. I think it was Football Weekly with James Richardson. I may have that wrong, but they basically said Argentina and the Argentinian soccer economy has been incentivized to sell players, and nobody wants to buy defenders and whatnot. They want to buy attackers. And so a couple of years ago, a lot of clubs made the decision to focus on developing those types of players. And now the national team is reaping the repercussions of that. And so, I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, that makes sense. To touch on Mascherano, they haven't found a replacement for him. You could clearly see his age now. Yeah, he had those battle wounds and kind of summed up Argentina in that last game. They powered through and got it done with scars and bleeding from the face. But, what the hell was that? Because he was on the field for at least 30 minutes, bleeding out of his head quite visibly for anyone to see, and the referee did not make him leave the field. I just want to throw out there, hold on one second. I want to throw out there to anyone who's listening who doesn't really understand the rules, you have to leave the field of play if you are bleeding, because you never know what somebody might have going on with their blood. You're not supposed to share blood in any way on the field, so you have to leave the field, get bandaged up before you can come back in. Why was he not required to leave the field?
I don't know. And so I tweeted this from Bros Talking Soccer. And that was, I think, our most retweeted thing from the day, from that particular day, got the most engagement. And then I talked about it on the podcast, but I think that was one of the days where I was by myself. It made no sense to me. And it wasn't like it was just like a little blood. It was all over his face. And he kept getting in the referee's face and like yelling at the referee about different calls. Like, I just don't understand why or how he was allowed to do that.
It was insane. But
yes.
I have to throw out during that game, Mascherano, I thought he was playing very, very poorly. So that is like, I don't understand how they haven't found somebody else. I agree with you completely. He kept turning the ball over. He clearly was getting run around. And France's midfield is very, very athletic. I am very concerned for him being in there against them, but we'll get to that one later. Nigeria, I was very impressed with Musa. I don't know how you felt about it, but I thought they have a lot of young talent coming up who could make noise at the next World Cup. How do you think they played?
Absolutely. This was the youngest team at the World Cup, I believe. And outside of John Obi Mikel, who's kind of giving the veteran leadership, and Victor Moses, I think the rest of their players all should be back for multiple cycles. So they should definitely make some noise moving forward. They got the 19-year-old goalkeeper who played very well throughout the tournament. And they have a ton of talent. I was surprised at how well they did and how composed they were.
Yeah, I absolutely was impressed with their goalkeeper. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves sometime soon. And also was it Musa Wagu? I don't know how you pronounce it, or Wagu.
I think it's Wagway. I think it's
Wagway?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. He was outstanding off the bench as well. And he scored a goal. He was the youngest African player to ever score a goal at the World Cup. So congratulations to him. And I don't really have much else to say about Nigeria other than they gave up that late goal. And that was really, really upsetting. All right.
Definitely.
Iceland, I guess we'll throw out there. They were the smallest country to ever qualify. They finished with 1 point. They came against an elite Argentina team who I guess aren't elite right now, but they're a very, very big name in the soccer world. And congratulations to them for being a part of this. We all love your fans, but I'm sorry to see you go. Anything else you want to add on this one?
No, we kind of glossed over Croatia, but they've been absolutely superb in this tournament.
Right.
So, just wanted to, I mean, we didn't gloss over them too much, but just wanted to throw that back out. Jonathan, real quick, I know you're watching on YouTube. We will get to talking about those things when we get to England's group, okay?
All right. Hey. Group E. All right. So we're going to speed up a little bit because we've focused a little too much recently on the details and we want to get this thing moving. So Group E finished Brazil, Switzerland, Serbia, Costa Rica in that order. How'd you expect this group to finish,
I
Dave?
expected it to be Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, Costa Rica. So I flipped Serbia and Switzerland. Serbia was a slight disappointment to me. I, hoped they could have gotten a result and pulled through this group. But props to Switzerland. I thought that they've been very organized defensively, and I thought Shaqiri has been their best player. He's been absolutely fantastic. And so has Xhaka. Xhaka has been very disciplined in the middle of the park. A lot of times we see him being a little bit wild and out of control, and he's played very well throughout this tournament.
Yeah, I was definitely going to highlight those two, but you got them, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Shaqiri move pretty quickly after this World Cup. And I just want to throw out Felipe Coutinho has been carrying Brazil. He has been absolutely amazing, and I am just utterly shocked that Firmino is also not starting up front. We've talked about this multiple times. I don't think Jesus has really been fulfilling that role well, and Firmino just offers something different. He always is moving, always linking up play. Jesus is more of just an out-and-out number 9, wants to score the goals. He's quicker. He's a little bit maybe more skilled. I don't really know if that's true, but he's more of your out-and-out Brazilian striker. Uh, Costa Rica, again, were just not what they were at the last World Cup. I was a little bit disappointed with them, but I also kind of expected it to go that way. I predicted this group exactly in the order that it finished, and I'm pretty high on Switzerland too. So let's see. Yeah, I'm just great. I'm interested to see how far they can get, especially against Sweden and then the winner of the Colombia-England game. So, anything else you want to add on this group, Dave?
I think you covered it all the points that I had.
All right, Group F finished Sweden, Mexico, South Korea, and last but not least, the German national team. What on earth? Okay, so my prediction in this group was Germany first, Mexico second, Sweden third, South Korea fourth. What happened, Dave? What is up with this group?
Honestly, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I think honestly, this might be harsh on him, but I thought Cruz and Khedira were very poor this tournament. Cruz obviously got the fantastic goal against Sweden. You can't take that away from him. But I thought throughout the other matches, he was not particularly good. And then Khedira was... If Cruz is going to be in there, you need to have somebody defensively who's going to be disciplined and sitting back. And Khedira just was not that. And I think that they left the midfield completely wide open in all of their matches and completely exposed their defenders. We've been texting about it a ton. Their center backs were isolated in one-on-one, 1v2 situations throughout the tournament.
Or 3-on-1 half the time. Yeah.
It was insane. And I think that comes from just having poor organization in midfield.
Yeah, Germany, I'm just utterly shocked. That was the most un-German performance I've seen in my lifetime, probably in anyone who's alive's lifetime, because that was shocking, and you never expect Germany to fall out this early. It hasn't happened since 1938, I believe, was the last time that Germany, and we all know what happened then. So let's move on from that. How do you feel about Mexico? They started this tournament so well. They have gotten worse with each game.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's a fair point to make. I don't know how I feel about Mexico right now. I say this all the time. They have talented players. They have enough talent to compete with any team in the world. They're technical. They can possess the ball. They can pass around pressure, and they're fantastic. But they've always lacked that little bit of edge, that little bit of cutthroat ability and ability to grind it out in matches where you need to do it in tournament play, specifically at the World Cup. And I don't know. I don't have a ton. I was very high on them after winning their first match, and now I just don't know. And them coming up against Brazil, I mean, we talked about this, or I talked about this with, I think John Collins was on when we discussed it from the Game of Footy, and he talked about Mexico was very effective at attacking Germany when Kimmich was getting out and getting forward, and then they could exploit the space in behind. If Marcelo is playing for Brazil, there could be a similar situation where Mexico can get in behind him, and they might be effective there. If Luis is in, I think that ultimately might benefit Brazil, and I don't know how they'll get by in that match. So that's something to look out for.
We'll dive into that one a little bit. But Sweden, wow, they were so impressive. They won the group. They won it handedly as well. And we get to see some more beautiful blondes smiling in the stands. So can't complain about that, right?
Not at all. I do want to highlight Granqvist. The center back has been superb for them. I mean, stepping up, converting penalties, just being solid in the back. He's been somebody who I had no idea about before this tournament, but he's shown very well.
Yeah, Kvist is great. I really like him as a player. And how do you think Son played for South Korea? Do you think that he lived up to the hype that he gets?
To an extent, I think that he is tasked with being all of the attacking weight is on them, and so he forces shots a lot of times where maybe passing is a better
Like
option.
his goal.
Well, yeah, we talked about that when we were reviewing the South Korea match. He's got 3 players on him in the Mexico match, and he's got a guy wide open. He decides to take it, scores a wonder goal, so it's tough for me to fault him. But you also see from him being that guy, you'll see players try to pass the ball to him. I know we were talking about, I can't remember what match was it. Was it the Mexico match where the guy could have rounded the keeper, but instead of doing that, he tried to lay it back off to Son. I can't remember if it was the Sweden or Mexico match. And I think sometimes when you have that guy, other players are so deferential to him. So again, it's tough to fault him, but I think he tries to do a little bit too much on that team.
Yeah, I agree. He tries to do a little bit too much, but I thought he played very well for when he did have the ball. And although he held on to it a little bit long, he scored, 2 goals in the tournament. So, I mean, he did what he had to, and they beat the champions and knocked Germany out. So, can't fault them there.
Got that old empty netter.
Yeah, because Neuer was just in position. So, next group is the group of G, Belgium, England, Tunisia, and Panama is how it finished up. I had England in first and Belgium in second, Tunisia third, Panama fourth. That's how I had it lined up. How'd you have it?
I had Belgium and England flopped, so I had England coming through in first and Belgium in second.
So that's exactly what I said. You applauded me. I don't know why, but I had the same thing you had.
Sorry, I wasn't totally listening. I was preparing to ask Jonathan's questions. So
do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, so real quick on England, he asked if we agreed with Southgate playing a weekend lineup against Belgium, and now that they have to play Colombia in the next round instead of playing Japan. So your thoughts on that? I've already kind of talked about it a little bit, Jonathan, in some of our previous videos, so you can check that out. But Christian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely want to. I was definitely brought that up. I had it written down here. I want to say that I don't really love the decision to rest your players. I think a lot of people get cohesion by playing together over and over again in game situations. But also, this is a tournament that there are 7 games you have to play in if you win. And they are over a very short period of time. You only have 3-4 days rest in between games. They're going to have 9 days off, a lot of those starters. They're able to rest their bodies for all that time, get training in, get to play together a little bit. And they may actually benefit from that. If they beat Colombia, they are on a much easier side of the bracket as well. So, and you never know. Anyone can beat anyone at any time. This is soccer. This is why we love the game. But they are not against any of the real world powers until at least the semifinal, it looks like. And you can't really blame him for rotating the squad. I think both teams rotated the squad. So you can't really fault him because Roberto Martinez did the same exact thing.
For me, it's less about trying to get onto the easier side of the bracket and more the first point that you were bringing up. This is potentially 7 matches in a very condensed period of time after most of these guys had played very long, grueling seasons in England and or across Europe. And so anytime you can get them additional rest, I think could be beneficial. There is something to be said about having cohesion and keeping momentum going. But at the end of the day, these are professionals. I think they'll be able to bounce back from having a little bit of time off. It's not like they were off for 4 weeks. They were off just a couple extra days. So could benefit there. I don't put much stock into getting onto the easier side of the bracket though. But sorry, other thoughts from this group?
Yeah, I just want to throw out Tunisia and Panama didn't really offer much of a fight. I think Tunisia played well in their first game to kind of hold back England, but to hold back England was literal because they were holding them down on corner kicks. So England could have had 5 penalties in that game easily. So, I mean, they really didn't ever challenge them in an attacking sense, and Panama just kind of collapsed against both teams, especially in the second half against Belgium and the entire game against England. But we never really expected them to get very far. They were an older team. And anything else you have to add on them?
No, Panama went about as expected. I did like Khazri. I thought he played fantastic for Tunisia. A lot of us who are Premier League fans remember him from his time at Sunderland, and he didn't necessarily have the best time. And he's not even a center forward. So their center forward got injured, and he was kind of forced into that role. And he had a superb tournament for me. Got 2 goals at least and 1 assist. So I thought he played exceptionally well for Tunisia.
Yeah, and I just kind of don't expect anything different of this group. I think Belgium are the most talented squad. I just thought England would come through, and the way they rested their players, it didn't work out that way. So moving on. Final group, Group H. Here we go. It was Colombia first, Japan second, Senegal third, and Poland in fourth. How'd you expect this group to go, Dave?
So I expected Colombia first, Poland second, Senegal third, and Japan fourth. So Japan was definitely the surprise team for me. I thought that they have some of the oldest, most experienced players in this tournament. And that's not always the best thing for a tournament in a short amount of time. And, they ultimately were able to get through on their experience and guile, as we saw from their last match, where they basically took their foot off the pedal. But props to them. They're definitely my surprise. And Poland, huge disappointment. I expected much more from them. They just did not create anything from open play. All of their attacks came from either set pieces or counterattacks. And I just expected more from them.
Poland were definitely my biggest disappointment of this group and maybe of the tournament. I kind of expected them to do better too, but I had Colombia first, Senegal second, Poland third, and Japan fourth. So I still had Poland going out, but they really never offered a threat. I was not impressed with them in any game. Yes, they won their last game, but I still was not sold on them. I think that Japan deserves all the credit for getting through. They got through a very tough group, and I think that I saw their last 7 World Cups. They've gone round of 16 out in the group stage, round of 16 out in the group stage. Like, it's every other one, and they're just continuing that cycle. So Colombia were the best team in this group. There's no doubt about it. If that first game didn't happen, they would have won that game too. I have no doubt about that as well. So them against England is going to be fun. And Senegal losing, I was a little bit disappointed. I thought they were the best African team in the tournament. They were really fun to watch. They actually had the ability to maybe make a run to the quarterfinal, maybe semifinal, depending how well their matchups go. But no African teams in the round of 16, first time since 1982, and it's pretty sad. But Japan, only Asian team left in the tournament, so you got one there.
There you go. Yeah, I was disappointed with Senegal just from the standpoint of they didn't get through. I was really excited about them. They have a ton of really talented players, and they had a really good style of play, and they were committed to that 4-4-2, and you saw some variation in it too. They came out very attacking in the first couple matches in the 4-4-2. Then against Colombia, they brought it back and reeled it in and was more defensive 4-4-2. It would have been cool to see them progress and see how they could have gone further in this tournament, but I'm sure they'll be back.
Yep. All right. So you ready to move on to the round of 16 here?
Let's
give a little bit more predictions.
Yep.
All right. So we'll just go game by game here. Ready?
Yep.
So we got our first match of the day tomorrow. Will be France versus Argentina. I guess I'll go first. I have this one going 1-1 all the way down to penalty kicks and Argentina going through. What do you got?
Okay. Well, we're getting real specific. I have France going through. I don't have score lines, but okay. I just do not have faith in this Argentina team. Maybe they get a goal. Maybe it's 2-0 to France, and then as Argentina's throwing numbers forward, it ends up 2-1, but I expect France to come through here.
Okay. Do you want me to not do scores then for the rest of the way?
No. Hey, do whatever you want to do.
I'm going to do scores because I have them written down.
All right.
All right. So my next game, well, not my next game, is everybody's game. So Uruguay versus Portugal is the next game. That game's played at 2 o'clock tomorrow Eastern time. I'm not going to go through all the times. That's just where I'm at. So I got Uruguay beating Portugal 2-1 in that game. What do you think?
That sounds about right. I mean, I'm going to die on this hill. I just have no faith in this Portuguese team. At some point, they're going to lose, and so I will predict them to lose every match. So, again, I think Portugal I don't have a ton of faith in their defensive structure, and attacking-wise, it seems like everybody defers to Ronaldo, and I think Uruguay is adept at being able to shut him down with the center-back situation that they have. So I expect Uruguay to get through here.
I absolutely think Godin will shut down Ronaldo. He's just such a good center-back, and they play against each other all the time. So next game, Sunday. First game is Spain versus Russia. I have this one going 3-1 to Spain. How do you guys? All of you guys. How do you think? Everybody, please give me your opinions. Here you go.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I have Spain going through. It's wacky. It's the home country, Russia. You could see some interesting things happening, but 3-1 sounds about right. So yeah, Spain.
And I definitely think, like we said before, Isco is going to be the big difference maker for this team. He's just so talented, rarely loses the ball. He's so clever in his movements and finds passing lanes. Him and Iniesta look like they're playing at a different level every second.
I am interested to see how Golovin plays against a more talented team. So I know I brought that up earlier. So I'm interested to see how he plays.
All right. Second game of the day, Croatia versus Denmark. What do you think?
I like Croatia. I'm really high on this Croatia team. Denmark, I don't have a ton of faith in. Maybe this is a 2-0 to Croatia. I'm really excited about this Croatia team, as I'm sure we'll talk about as we go through these predictions.
I have Croatia 2-0, so I absolutely agree with you. I think Croatia are going to make a run in this tournament pretty far, and we're going to be surprised to see where they can end up. Next game will be Brazil versus Mexico on Monday. I have Brazil winning this game 1-0. I think it's going to be very close, but Brazil come out in the end. Curse of the fifth game.
Sounds about right. I'd agree with that. Like I touched on earlier in the video or podcast, if Marcelo is playing, look for Mexico to exploit that space that he vacates. But I favor Brazil in this matchup as well.
Absolutely. Second game of that day is Belgium versus Japan. What do you think?
Belgium. Belgium's just too talented. I think Japan has already progressed further than I expected them to. I don't want to completely discount them because they are very good at possessing the ball. They're very organized defensively, but I think Belgium has both the size. We saw Senegal just towering over the Japanese team, and they weren't able to exploit that in their matchup. But I expect Belgium, with their skills along with their size, to just be able to, whether it's set pieces or just again through their skills with possession, be able to break them down.
I absolutely agree. I have Belgium going through this game 2-0. I think that they're going to be way too strong. I don't think that Japan's going to pose a threat to them attacking wise. And I think Lukaku is just a monster and will be able to eat up every chance that comes to him, especially in the air. The last games are Sweden versus Switzerland is that first game. I have that game going 0-0. Sweden are just very, very good defensively, all the way to penalties, and Switzerland just seeing it out. What do you think?
I can definitely see that happening, but I give the slight edge to Sweden. Did you say Sweden or Switzerland? They're both SWs.
Switzerland.
Yeah. So Sweden. I have Sweden coming through. Sweden. I think that they've just proven that they beat Italy to get to this tournament. The
Netherlands too in their group.
They beat the Netherlands in their group. They have gotten results, almost a result against Germany. They played right till the very end, and I'm done doubting them, and I have them pulling through in this tournament. Yeah. But I agree with you, very low scoring in this match.
And they're not Ibra heavy anymore, so they've gotten this far without him. You don't need him anymore. They're a brand new team, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them get through either. Last game, England versus Colombia. Where do you see this one ending up? I think this is one of the highlights of the ground.
I would agree with that. And Jonathan, our friend from YouTube, pointed out that James Rodriguez is kind of the turning point of this match. And apparently they'll confirm on Saturday if he's fit enough to start. If he starts, Jonathan's got Colombia probably progressing here. And if he's out, England should likely get the win. I think that definitely if James is fully fit, I would give the edge to Colombia. If he's not fully fit, I wouldn't completely discount Colombia yet because they still have Juan Quintero, who's fantastic. Falcao, Cuadrado's played fairly well, so I wouldn't completely write them off. And I also really like that center back pairing of Davinson Sanchez and Yerry Mina. I think they've been fantastic. So again, I'll still give the slight edge to Colombia, but it's going to be more close if James is out.
I agree with that. I have England winning this game, and I have it 1-1 going to penalties as well. I have 3 penalty kick games in the round of 16, and I think this is going to be really tightly contested. And so there we go. There's our round of 16. Let's head into the quarterfinals here. So, Dave, you have, as the first game, you will have France versus Uruguay. What do you think is going to end up in that game?
I have France progressing there. I think it's going to be a tight match. I think both teams are very talented, and I just give the slight edge to France there. Maybe it's an extra time, 1-goal victory for France.
Okay. I have Argentina versus Uruguay in that game, and I have that game ending 1-0 to Argentina in extra time. I think it's going to be really low scoring, and I think Argentina are just going to be more locked down defensively. I think they're more built for knockout games than they are for group games. So we'll see how that ends up. And next game, you will have Brazil versus Belgium. How do you feel that game's going to go?
I actually have Belgium pulling this out. So, I don't have a ton of faith in that prediction. This is me kind of maybe going out on a ledge. I just think Belgium is so supremely talented, and I think they find a way to get a result. And so, again, it's going to be tight. I think most of these are going to be tight in the quarterfinals, but hey, I'm gonna say Belgium gets the result against Brazil in a shock victory.
Yep, I have Belgium going through as well against Brazil, and I have it going to penalties as well. I think there's going to be a lot of penalty kicks coming your way, guys.
Wow, we did not plan this ahead of time. I did not know you were going to say that. Wow.
Yeah, and so next game, you have Sweden versus Colombia, I guess is what you said. Where do you have there?
I have Sweden coming
Oh
through.
my
I'm
God.
done doubting the Swedes. Swedes are making a shock run here. Again, I think that they just have shown an ability to defend and to find ways to get the goal when they need it, and or have been cool in penalties. So if this goes to penalties, again, I give the slight edge to Sweden. This again, everything is tight at this point, but maybe they get the victory in penalties here to qualify for the semifinals.
I think you're being a little crazy. So I have Switzerland versus England here. So completely opposite of what you've got. And I have England making it through 1-0 in this game. I obviously think a lot of these games are going to be really low scoring. So I think that they're just going to see it through. And I'm predicting a Harry Kane winner right here. You heard it here first.
All
So
right.
last game of the quarterfinals, we got you have Spain and Croatia.
Correct.
What do you think? I think that is by far the best game of this group,
Yeah.
this round of games. So
Yeah,
what do you think?
I'm excited at the potential for this game to happen. I have Croatia pulling it out. I really love this Croatian midfield. I think that they're playing exceptionally well, and I love the balance in the team. So I have Croatia pulling it out over Spain. Again, tight match, 1-0, 2-1 type of game, but Croatia pulling it out.
So guys, you'll never believe it, but I have this one going to penalties in a 0-0 draw. So I have Croatia upsetting Spain as well and making it to the semifinal of the World Cup. I am absolutely so excited to hear what you have for Croatia versus Sweden as your semifinal. So let's hop right into the semifinals. First, you have what? Uruguay, right?
France
Uruguay
versus Belgium. France, Belgium.
You have France. Okay. France versus Belgium.
So
What do you got there?
This was the final that I predicted before the tournament. So it's happening in the semifinals. I have Belgium pulling it out, getting the victory, qualifying for the finals.
Belgium? You still
Belgium.
got Belgium going all the way?
Yeah.
I have a feeling you're going to. So I have Argentina versus Belgium in this first game, and as much as it hurts me to say, because I want Messi to win it, I also have Belgium going to the final, winning this game 3-1. I know it hurts me.
3-1. Wow.
Yeah, I have them dominating Argentina. I think that they're a better team, more depth, and they're just going to overpower them in the end. They're going to be able to run rings around them in the midfield and out wide. So last semifinal game, you have Sweden versus Croatia. Yes, you heard it right, people. This is insane, this semifinal. Dave, let's hear what you got.
I said before the tournament started that I was rooting for chaos because the U.S. isn't in it, so I just want to enjoy this tournament. I want teams that haven't been there before to get there, so that's why I hope to God this is the semifinal. I have Croatia pulling it out. Again, I've said I'm really high on this Croatia team. I have Croatia going to the finals ahead of Sweden.
All right, so I got England versus Croatia in my semifinal. Can't sleep on the dark horse. Croatia is coming through this game 2-1 in extra time. No doubt about it. Croatia in the final against Belgium. We have the same final. Let's hear what you got.
Yeah, I can't believe we ended up with the same final. I have Belgium pulling it out. I mean, they're who I went with before the tournament. I feel like I got to, ride with them. They have enough talent to play. My concern with them against Croatia is so good in the midfield, and I just don't have a ton of faith in that 3-5-2 from Belgium. It is so attacking, and I think Croatia it gives me a little bit of concern with how talented they are keeping possession and being able to find space. But hey, I'm sticking with Belgium to pull it out, get that first World Cup trophy.
Yeah, I just want to throw out my semifinal is all Group D and Group G. That's a little crazy. I didn't even plan that. I just saw it in the end. So I have Belgium versus Croatia, same as Dave, the opposite winner. I have Croatia pulling it off in one of the craziest World Cup wins of all time. They are so underdogs in this World Cup. People wrote them off. I had them as dark horses coming in. I had them losing in the semifinal originally. I think this is their time. They're going to make it.
Bold predictions here on Bros Talking Soccer podcast. So we'll see. Either way, I'm excited as hell for these knockout rounds. I'm very pumped for them to start tomorrow.
Absolutely. So I just want to go through a couple of things. I don't know if you covered it on your podcast earlier, but just a couple things outside of just the natural games. Who do you think has the best fans in this World Cup so far? Who's really impressed you?
For me, it's been the South Americans. So Colombia and Mexico in particular have been exceptional. I I want to say Argentina because of how well they performed in the Nigeria match, but for how poorly they treated Caballero after he made that mistake in their match against Croatia, I can't give them the nod. But for me, Mexico and Colombia have been amazing to watch from a fan perspective.
I have Colombia as number one, hands down. They are just the craziest fans. They really are passionate and they just love to sing and have fun. And I have Argentina as my second group of fans. They are crazy loud and crazy passionate as well. I think all the South American teams clearly have the best fans so far and really are just next level. And I'm just sliding down here. So who has been your biggest either? What's up?
Shout out Bacon Nuts, our favorite commenter from YouTube. Always appreciate you chiming in here. But he's saying Mexico has the best fans, no question. Him being a Mexico fan. So Bacon Nuts, we'll agree with that because I think you're our biggest fan on YouTube, which we appreciate.
I'm not going to agree with that. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't care what you think. You're wrong. So biggest disappointment so far. I think I'm going to know what everyone says here. What do you think?
Well, it's Germany, obviously. Yeah. So, and I've already highlighted Cruz and Khedira for me in particular have been poor, especially Khedira. I don't want to harp too much on him, but I think he's been really poor for them. I think also to an extent, just the Argentinian mess. But again, I kind of saw that coming. I don't think anybody saw this coming from Germany. So they'll be my biggest disappointment.
Yeah, Germany's definitely my biggest disappointment. I'm a little bit disappointed to see Peru and Morocco go out. I'm not really disappointed with them. I'm just disappointed that we don't get to see more of them because I think they could have given a lot of the big teams an issue with the way that they play. And I'm very disappointed with Egypt and the entire continent of Africa's showing at this World Cup. I'm disappointed that no one made it through, even though a lot of them played really, really well. Nigeria and Senegal specifically really looked dangerous. And like we said, Morocco. So I was going to ask Dark Horse, but I think we both have the same one there. Croatia going pretty far in this World Cup. I have them winning. Dave has them in the final. You have, I guess you have Sweden as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I mean, yeah, Sweden is kind of it's not that I have a ton of, I mean, I have a faith in them just being able to grind out the results. And when it comes to knockout stages, I mean, teams that can do that go far. So that's more where I'm coming from there.
That's true. And they already Sweden went through it with their qualifier at the end as well against Italy, who are a very difficult team to break down and beat. So who do you think is going to flop the hardest in the knockout stage of the teams we expect to do well?
So who's we? Because I think Argentina is just going to get run over. Now, I think a lot of people will expect them to get through just because of their names. But for me, I think it's probably Argentina. Again, I don't have a ton of faith in that team and the structure behind their attacking line.
Yeah, I think France are the biggest flop. So it's funny that we picked the same game, different teams. I think France are going to flop really hard and going to get knocked out, and it's going to be on penalties. That's what I predicted. So, I mean, that's not.
Wait, but is that a flop, though?
No, it's not. But you expect them to get far, so they're not going to perform the way you expect them to and get through. You expect them to be able to win that game, and arguably by multiple goals with their squad that they have. So, I mean, that's a little unfair to Argentina, but I really think that they are that good of a team. France is. And finally, I don't know if you have this in mind, but do you think that there are any big transfers that are going to come out of this that you can think of off the top of your head?
Any big transfers?
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely going to be ones. I mean, we saw rumors with Chucky Lozano being linked to different teams. I think depending on how the knockout rounds go, you could see him move. Who else was there? I think Cuevas, who's down in Sao Paulo for Peru. I know he had that big miss on the penalty, but I think he's either out of contract or close to out of contract. He may be moving, but he may not be moving big. He may be moving to an MLS team or something like that. I feel like there was somebody else, but nobody's coming to mind outside of Chucky Lozano. He's just the one that immediately jumped to my mind.
I definitely think Shaqiri is going to move to a big team again. He was at Bayern a while ago, and I think he's going to be at a top 4 team in England or just a top Champions League team somewhere in the big countries in Europe, one of the big 5. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up, especially with a 12 million buyout clause since they got relegated. Stoke did this year. I have Lozano as well. I think Ozoho, the Nigerian goalkeeper, who's 19, is going to make a move to one of the bigger teams as well. Wagwu is another one that I had moving. He's 19 as well, and I think a lot of those Nigerian guys might end up at bigger teams in Europe, and maybe not the biggest, highest elite level, but we're going to see them more often.
And
You
the
have a comment.
South Korea keeper Cho, I think he's done
he played
really
really
well.
well.
I think he's on. I think I heard the worst team in the K League, so I think he has helped his stock.
Yeah, absolutely. I could easily see him at one of the either like a mid-level team in Europe. I could easily see that in one of the big 5 leagues, and maybe even an upper-level team. You never know. I think he played extremely well and made a lot of big saves. And finally, my biggest one, I think he needs to be at a big team absolutely right now. Quintero for Colombia is a very, very good center midfielder, and I would be shocked to see him not at an elite level club soon.
100%, 100% in agreement. I mean, he's been fantastic. I know before the tournament, it was in either James Rodriguez or Quintero. I've been thrilled that they've been able to fit both of them in the lineup, and hopefully James, gets healthy. We can see him playing throughout the rest of the tournament because Quintero, I agree with you. He's got that cutback pass where he really disguises it well and just hits it spot on. So he's been superb for them.
Absolutely. And what is your favorite moment of the World Cup so far?
For me, it's got to be the Germany goal against Sweden. I know that they haven't performed, but that was the only time where I literally was sweating. I jumped up off my couch. That was like the most dramatic thing I've seen in a very long time. That's as close as you're going to get in soccer to a buzzer beater because they did away with golden goals. So for me, it's got to be that moment.
There are definitely a lot of moments where there were a lot of late goals in this tournament. It was pretty crazy. I think my favorite moment, definitely different, going a different way, just comically wise. Batshuayi kicking the ball off his own face in celebration after they scored against England is one of the funniest moments, I think, of this World Cup. Absolutely. And I'm excited we're going to see more of him. Let's see him celebrate some more goals when he comes on for Lukaku late in games.
Agreed.
All right. Is there anything else you got on this topic or anything else you want to throw out there?
Nothing from me. What about you?
I don't think so. You want to wrap us up here, Dave?
Absolutely. So anyone who's been watching live on YouTube, thank you so much for watching and interacting. Bacon Nuts, quick shout out. And Jonathan, thank you very much for watching and interacting with us. Anyone listening to the podcast, thank you. I know we're probably a bit long for you, but thank you for sticking with us. And hopefully you enjoyed all of the content from the first part and now the second part. If you want to get in contact with us, our email is bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @BTSoccerPod. Christian and I have been tweeting a bunch during these matches. We got fun gifts. We've been live tweeting all the matches. So interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on, do you like the podcast? Do you have suggestions on what you want us to talk about? So on and so forth.
Do you want Christian to host all the time because he's so much better? Things like that.
Just throw it out there. Absolutely, because he's done a fantastic job, and we appreciate that. Also, check out our website, brostalkingsoccerpodcast.com. You can read about us, check out past episodes, find links to all of the different podcasts sites that we're on. So iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, all wherever, podcasting platforms. We're trying to get onto Spotify. They're a slight pain in the ass to get on there. So we're trying to get on there, and hopefully we'll be on there soon, but you never know. With that, thank you, Christian, so much for hosting. I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you so much, Dave. And I'm really glad I got this opportunity, and hopefully I'll be able to do it again. I want to hear your feedback, everybody. I really want to know what I can improve on or what Dave can improve on if he's going to be hosting in the future.
Absolutely. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you all tomorrow. See you, everybody.
Thank you.
The mouse stopped working. I think we're running long. YouTubers, please stick with us. All right, now we're going to say bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, all right. Bye, everyone on YouTube.
God damn it.